So, with James Wan producing and Oz Perkins directing a Stephen King short story, the results are about as wild as you would expect for those three names coming together. So I haven't read the short story The Monkey from Stephen King that this is based on, but as far as a movie goes, it's easy to compare this to something like Final Destination. Both of these movies kind of deal with very ridiculous death sequences, but I think what separates this from something like Final Destination is that Final Destination, it's all about these sort of Rube Goldberg-esque sequences of one piece leading to another, action and reaction, and all building up to a sort of surprise shocker. And this one isn't really that. Yeah, there are moments where it's like one thing leading to another, which leads to someone's demise, but it's not usually as complex. It's usually very simple and straightforward. And it's more so interested in this idea that death is this inevitability. It's this thing that is constant, and it's also very random, and it's very cruel and mean in how random it can be sometimes. Everyone dies, and you just don't get to dictate how that happens. It'll just happen when it happens. And any attempt to kind of control how your life goes in that regard and controlling your death or other people's deaths for that matter is just kind of futile in the grand scheme of things, because it's just going to keep coming for every person out there, because that's just how life works. So your time on this planet, your precious limited time, is better spent on things that are more important, things like family and friends, things that are much more worth your time than just kind of thinking about all these terrible things that could potentially happen, but you don't know, because it's never something that'll be made clear to you until it eventually happens. And I know this might make the movie sound really heavy and dour, but it's actually deeply unserious. It is a hoot of a movie that has a very kind of like mean streak with its humor and the way it approaches the various death sequences that are made as a result by this mysterious kind of magical monkey toy that the main character finds as a child. And it's just a lot of fun to watch, and it's very kind of freaky and tense, but because it is Oz Perkins behind the camera, it's also very artfully done. There's some really beautifully executed sequences and shots, and a great use of color, and even sound design is great. It's just a very well done kind of junk, but I mean junk in like the most endearing of ways possible. It is just a ton of fun. Theo James plays the lead in this, and I feel like I haven't seen him a whole lot recently, but I do remember like a period where he was kind of being pushed as like a leading man, and this one I think gives him a very different kind of role to kind of chew on, one that's very kind of timid and afraid and very flawed, and I think he does a very good job in this. This is probably the best that I've seen him in. But of course, when it comes to a movie like this, the thing that really gets people going is the death sequences, it's the gore, and all that stuff is fantastic. It has a very Looney Tunes quality to it with how they sort of execute these moments, because they're very over the top. The physics of them is just not quite there, but it's part of the charm. It's part of the appeal. It goes very big with these gestures of just total slaughter of the human form. It is almost inspiring. It's not like played for like realism. It is pure cartoon energy. So yeah, I had a blast with this one. It's just a really good time at the movies. There isn't a post-credit scene, but there is a sort of teaser for Oz Perkins' next film, Keeper. So that looks intriguing. Definitely closer to his usual sort of kind of atmospheric horror, because this is a very different kind of vibe for him. He's usually much more serious-minded with his work. Even Longlegs, which did, I think, have a sense of humor more so than anything he's ever done before. But this is definitely something very new for him. And I think he did a very good job with this shift in sort of his usual tonal wheelhouse. So those are my thoughts on The Monkey. If you've seen the film, feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments.